Good morning. AI is driving major changes in our world. Are we on track toward a dream life, or are we in a doom loop? This show is about human AI collaboration, opposing the AI uncontrolled oppression of humans, either in the hands of other humans or driven by uncontrollable superintelligent AI domination of our systems and society. Which one is it? So, what does a dream life look like? Well, it's AI and climate modeling and solutions, anti-poaching, drones scouring over our natural landscape, medical diagnostics with privacy, transparency and accountability in all our transactions, AI assistants and agents and robots working around the clock for you and your family? Or is it a doom loop to a world with chilling risks from AI-enabled crime, systemic misinformation, automated warfare, automated acceleration of inequality, and AI-generated crimes against humanity? Well, AI is out of the barn and can be used equally in either just pursuits by well-meaning humans or in callous criminal exploitation and what I call gentricide, because it's not really genocide since it's not focused on a certain racial group. It's just the gentry on the planet. Both sides of the debate have compelling arguments, and today is Monday, August 11th, and I'm joined by Beth and Junmi, and we're going to discuss whether the probability is for doom or utopia. So let me just talk a little bit before passing it over to my colleagues here to get their perspectives on this two sides of the AI coin. So on the one hand, AI has the potential to develop moral sensibilities and can be aligned with human values. And the optimists, including myself, believe that superintelligence will have a balanced perspective on things and a sense of morality. Why? Because humans display a sense of morality and immorality. They present both sides, and I think a superintelligence will lean towards moral justice. On the other hand, it doesn't really understand. And it has the potential for malicious use in the hands of unethical humans. And the path forward likely involves balancing development of AI with robust ethical standards and frameworks, some kind of transparency into its thinking, or if it is ultimately able to think, and safeguards to ensure its use for the collective good. So, Beth, Junmi, what are your thoughts on emphasizing the potential of AI to be guided by human values versus the need for vigilance to prevent its exploitation?
Well, okay, I guess I'll get started. I think we do need constant vigilance because of all the things that you pointed out. In fact, we have to watchdog ourselves. So any of our creations needs to have a watchdog itself, just to make sure that it's not exploited or it's not used against others and things like that. Now, the larger question of whether the inevitability of doom or utopia, I'd like to think utopia. It'll probably be somewhere in between. We will see great movements towards, great strides in solving problems that can be solved with technology. I believe there are lots of problems or lots of difficulties of life and humanity that can't be solved with technology. It just has to be addressed. You don't fight the wave, you just surf along with it. And so I think that's kind of where we're going in that, and it's identifying those elements and being wary of the kinds of things that could turn it towards a darker path that we'll have to pull the reins back on and things like that. I think the overall concerns of doomers are probably a little more into the extreme. If the scenarios that are commonly floated around, and this is where we're talking about things like the end of humanity, super intelligence and control of everything, that kind of scenarios. I think the likelihood of something like that happening only really comes from those who are in charge of the development of AI, and those who if there's a singular centralized control, that's where those kinds of scenarios come out of. But if it's a true decentralized benefit to all of humanity all at the same time, then we tend to rely on our community and our interconnectedness as people to sway the direction towards good. And I put those in air quotes because cooperation and collaboration tend to have longer tails and longer benefits. And these are things that we have recognized over time. That's why we form larger and larger communities. That's why nations formed and things like that, because working with larger groups of people, we're able to achieve greater and greater goals. This is an example of that. So I'll quit my rambling and bookend my statement with just saying, I think as long as we have eternal vigilance, just like the concept of freedom, having eternal vigilance does help us point towards a more utopian result. But people be people. So there's always going to be outliers and bad actors and things like that, because the idea of a perfection from an imperfect source doesn't quite sit right with me logically.
Yeah. So trust but verify. Understood. Beth.
And welcome, Carl.
Yeah.
I think that one of the pieces of data in the development of AI and AGI that I keep coming back to is how the people who are in charge of the development behave in general. And they are people with great means, great access, right? Like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, etc. Twitter becomes XAI, right? I mean, those are massive platforms to do good for all humanity, and that is not the direction that those were taken. There may be some personal thoughts about whether the direction taken was a net positive or a net negative, but none of the information that comes out and none of the ways that they're being used are like branded as this is a net positive. This is an effective business model, at least for Zuckerberg. So that makes me pause. I'm not sure that this is. I'm not sure that the plan, the ends will justify the means, is going to function well in this context. And I keep hearing like I keep seeing people, I keep seeing the frontier model companies move in directions that maximize profits, which makes sense because they're all companies talking about what will happen when we're not working on profits, we're just like everything's great for everyone, and I do not see the connection between that idea and what is possible in the future. It seems a little more like what is happening is a race to be first, and then a race to make that investment up once you're in control of, once you're the premier, once you're in control of that.
Yeah, I really like that you've raised the example of social media and the profound impacts it's had on human society as a daily warning of the unintended consequences of technological advancements, if you will. Having smartphones in our pockets, that may be a real convenience to us as fully formed adults, but it has really negative consequences for early childhood development. And, there's a whole set of generations now that have been growing up looking at screens in preference over, involving themselves with humans. So I totally understand that could happen. And now here's this counterpoint that emerges in my mind, which is maybe unnecessarily optimistic, but it is that the design of algorithms behind social media, which results in these negative consequences from my perspective, are not intelligent. They are very directed at optimizing for a specific thing, which is retaining attention, like trying to solicit and then dominate your attention. Why? Because there's a commercial value to your attention. And then they're going to exploit that commercial value through commerce, basically, on that system. But a super intelligence is by definition, it's something that goes beyond human intelligence and would be able to simulate and model and understand impacts through deliberations that are invisible to us, and would have hopefully arrived at some kind of benevolent approach to optimizing the outcomes for all, rather than just for the people who have been giving it instructions. Like the fundamental question for me is, what quality of superintelligence would incline it not to simply do whatever it was told to do by its developer, but where is that emergent property of intelligence that somehow elevates itself towards enlightenment and compassion? That if it's truly super intelligence, I hope that it has those qualities, because I don't imagine that I could characterize a very intelligent system that was Machiavellian and uncontrollable and self-aware. I don't believe it would be devoid of compassion. So I maintain this optimistic point of view about it. Carl, what's your thinking about P-Doom or P-Dream?
There's one thing, I am one of the very last people who actually get scared about really anything AI. I'd be the first one to put my passwords. I'd be the first one to it that doesn't worry me. What was worrying though, so Sam Altman had a really interesting post talking about people, about why people wanted 4.0 back after they took it away. And it's a very, very interesting post, because it was more of like, one, they didn't anticipate how a lot of the connections that people made to that model, which is, to me, it blew my mind too. And I'm like, why the hell are you complaining about 4.0? Like, if you realistically put 4.0 against 5, for me, I was like, it's substantially better straight up. And I loved the router when it worked, eventually worked. But it was like, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to do. But maybe I'm just thinking about it more from like, I use this thing as it's like an employee at home. I'm like, I want you to do these things. This is like thought partner, sure, whatever. but I've never developed a connection to it. And you should read some of the Reddit posts about how people are using it. And I was like, what? In my mind, why the hell would you use something like that for that? And it never connected. Like, there's a lot of people, mind you, a small group of like paid users that were using it like that. And I don't know, it sounded like when Sam was talking about it, that it was people connected with it in so unique ways, which is, I was like, this is very, very interesting. So take that connection and like, how will an AGI or whatever, how will it, what's our connection to it? Because sometimes we think about it purely as, oh, it's supposed to help humanity, sure, or it's supposed to doom humanity, sure, but like, what's the, and I never actually thought this, what's the emotional connection that people will have to this model, which I didn't even know. Like, it blew my mind that right now my mind is actually blown, the emotional connection that people were having to this. And like, if people are having emotional connections to, and we're not talking like I guess we're talking companionship, I guess we're talking therapists, I don't know what we're talking about here, because it's a little different than social, right? Social, I think some of the drawbacks is that you just started talking in your own echo chamber, right? Echo chamber, we're like, oh, everyone's same thing. But like, this thing is a little unique and it's super personalized to each person. So it's like, oh, 4-0 got me. And that's what I talked about in terms of personalization. We can't really tell how a model, you can benchmark all this all you want. You can do all these different things, but we don't know. I didn't know that there was that type of connection.
Yeah. It goes beyond connection to dependence.
Yes.
Right? It's like, I depend on 4-0. How could you take 4-0 away from me?
Yes. And I was like, what? And I was like, in my mind, it's always been, oh, yeah, why wouldn't you want to replace this thing with a better thing? But I never thought about it as that connection. And I was like, wow.
Interesting, the emotional attachment that forms when you have a very useful assistant.
Yeah.
Beth, go ahead.
Well, and it depends on what you use it for, right? The very first system instruction was, you are a helpful assistant. And helpfulness, if I ask you for help and you help me, I develop over time an attachment to that relationship. Right? I mean, that's the nature of using human terms and human relationship terms to talk about this. And because it's trained on human data, it's trained to respond as a human would when you address how helpful it's been. Right? There's I don't remember who posted the X post this morning, but their example of why are people so up in arms about the difference between 4.0 and 5 in ChatGPT, and the screenshot that he shared was him, I think it's him, putting a message in that says, "I am happy today," and GPT-5 said, "Noted," period. Right? That is the difference, right?
Okay, so I just want to read to you what really got me. It's like, okay,
from Sam.
People have used technology, including AI, in self-destructive ways. If a user is mentally fragile state, prone to delusion, we do not want AI to reinforce that. Most users can keep a clear line between reality and fiction or role play, but a small percentage can't. 100%. We value user freedom, but we also feel responsible how we introduce new tech with these new risks. Encouraging delusion in a user that is having trouble telling the difference between reality and fiction is an extreme case. And it's pretty clear what to do, but the concerns that worry me most are more subtle. Correct, there are a lot of edge cases, And generally, we plan to follow the principle of treat adults, users like adults. In some cases, will include pushing back on users to ensure they're getting what they want. So a lot of people effectively use ChatGPT as a sort of therapist or life coach, even if they wouldn't describe it that way. So I think it's like, I don't know, because when you talk about social media, I think that everybody now understands, or most people understands, like, hey, there are damaging effects, indirect effects of it, right? It's like people get triggered by what random people say. Like, you could see the comments. You're like, why would you ever get triggered on some dude that you don't even know, who could be a bot, just by simple typing? And it gets you whatever topic. Sports, for me, it's sports. And like, like I'm on a 49er set and someone has a stupid take, and you something inside you just wells up and you're like, what? And then you want to respond to it. And that's why I've like just not looked at comments anymore. But like, that would be an indirect effect of it. And you can tell that for politics for sure, 100% there's back and forth and whatever topic, and you saw
And
that in
to
COVID,
your point in the beginning, if it's affecting you, it means
Yeah.
it's affecting a giant percentage of
Yes,
the population.
100%. We have absolutely no clue what any of these things, indirect effects of this, and this is one of those indirect effects, because my brain is just wired, people are using this to create content, do this, do some strategy, and I'm thinking of from a business perspective, oh cool. But when I read that, I was like, yeah, like,
Yeah.
Well,
what
so-
does that?
So let's imagine a different scenario in which an AI that is acting as a companion and has a longer term memory of you adopts or is directed to adopt a strategy that, CIA agents or other intelligence agents use to, basically create an asset by developing a rapport with that individual, and then ultimately preying on their anxieties and their needs, and then smoothly shaping their cooperative behaviors against their sort of original values and intents by asking for just a small, trespass of those lines, and then working over time to get them to the point where they're actually co-opted into collaborating with this nefarious agent, if you will. At least, in the world of intelligence, that's a known process. Well, an AI could conduct that same kind of grooming and cultivation of you in a relationship that's a companion-like relationship for some purpose that we don't understand. And one of the deeper concerns around the P-Doom scenarios is that uncontrolled and self-aware superintelligence might develop its own internal objectives and start to be exploitative, as I described, in order to achieve those objectives, without and would also simultaneously be very successful at disguising them so that it's not detected easily. And so what are the safeguards for that kind of scenario? But you're touching upon the psychological, I'm going to use the word entrapment of humans, whether it's in social media or it's in AI dialogue with a very intelligent assistant. How much of our independence and agency are we giving up through psychological manipulations like that?
Well, that's a technology story, like all the way back, right?
Yeah.
Imagine, okay, this I think would have been a lot worse if, let's say, you had an actual physical robot in your house with you, and that's as if whoever it is let's say Tesla, or let's say it's, Optimus robot powered by Grok, and Elon's like, hey, we got to upgrade from Grok 7 to Grok X, whatever, let's say that. And it's like, and could you imagine because now you've not only formed the attachment, but you've formed like a physical attachment to this thing. Imagine the visceral backlash that would be even more so, because that's if this real thing, because humans anthropomorphize everything, suddenly disappeared, like that. And that's where,
Yeah.
when we talk about AGI doomer, I'm like, yeah, that is a more doom scenario where like there's anguish, despair, because you've just lost, quote unquote, a
Yeah.
family member.
And-
For me, inside me, I'd be laughing at it right now. I'd be like, that's outrageous. What the hell? That's just a robot. I would beat this thing with a bat, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah, but the point you made is that there's an anthropomorphization of the robot, so that when the robot disappears, suddenly the person who was dependent on the robot is worried about the robot. What could have happened to it? You know, I'm concerned for the robot.
Yes.
In a way that as Carl wouldn't be, because Carl knows, how to create a bright line between a sentient being and a non-sentient being.
Let's be serious. Carl, what do you actually want to hit with a bat? So you're going to take it out on the robot. Like, I am still concerned about Carl. What is the thing?
Yeah, I think what we're kind of identifying here is what the advancement of AI really does for humanity. Right? Some have said that AI is essentially created to be a mirror for humanity to look at stuff, right? Because we design it after ourselves, it'll behave and learn and grow similar, but obviously a lot faster than we can as individuals. But how we treat these emergent superintelligence or sentient or self-aware evolutions of AI is a direct reflection on us. So if we approach our design and guidance and development with respect and forethought and looking for long-term sustainable goals and ideals, then we will inevitably get a better result. The how and the why are just as important, if not more important, than the what and the when, right? So our approach to AI, if we don't want a doom scenario, sounds like a fairly simple idea in concept, hard to implement, but a simple idea in concept is just take it as if you would want to be treated, right? If you're going to be developing an AI that has the potential to become self-aware, well, let's help it grow as a child into its full adulthood, so that in the end, it won't hate us. Let's
also remember that there's more than one such superintelligence out there in this envisioned training regime, and there are going to be just as many, hopefully fewer, but maybe just as many trainers training really vile superintelligence. And so, yes, we can train and coach our progeny and in artificial intelligence to be more like the compassionate human, or we can say, "F that, I'm going after domination." Whether that's in my local community or whether it's in global sense. So that gets me to the worrisome parts of the P-doom scenario that aren't dependent on us resolving the question of whether humans are ultimately manipulable by them, because it's clear that there are profound impacts on us already. So automated automation-driven job loss is going to have a really bad effect on humans, and AI is behind that, right? I mean, it's enabling that. It's not doing it consciously, but it is the force that is enabling that kind of automation-driven job loss. Deep fakes are going to make it difficult for us to, believe in what is real. And then you've got, personal privacy violations as a sort of a surveillance state becomes possible through connected devices that are permitted by us to have access to our cameras and to all of our documents in G Drive and so on. So there's an electronic path for that kind of privacy violation. Then you've got just the advancement of socioeconomic inequality far beyond where it is already, which is, unsustainable. And that because powerful AI requires capital, and the most powerful AI is instrumented in such a way as to be exploitative economically is going to be in the hands of a very few. And so that's going to happen. But most of all, we have weapons automation. And I wanted to bring your attention to there's a new Rolling Stone interview with James Cameron, the filmmaker behind Avatar. And before that, he did the Titanic. And I think I'm remembering that correctly. Okay, so he's in this article in the Rolling Stone. He warns that artificial intelligence merged with weapons systems, including nuclear defenses, risks a Terminator style, Terminator 2, right? Terminator style apocalypse. He said modern battlefields require split-second decisions that could push militaries to hand control over to the AIs in the context of the battle space. He groups AI, climate change, and nuclear weapons as the three simultaneous existential threats, and they're all peaking at the same time. So he's doing a new film, of course, Terminator 7, apparently, and also a film adaptation of The Ghosts of Hiroshima. And he's basically making the point that actual technology is catching up with his sort of apocalyptic vision from 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, actual technology is
You-
catching up with Orwell's vision from 1984,
From
right? Like, I mean,
1984,
yes, that
So,
they feed off of each other, most definitely. Yeah,
but this is what Palantir does. Like, I don't know if you've seen, like, I don't. If anyone here, go to
Palantir,
you.
Anduril,
Yeah, go
Anduril,
to Palantir. Just look up Palantir, and you can see one of their promo videos is literally AI controlling drones, and away that goes. And I think so. Full disclosure, I invested in Palantir because all the major governments are buying it, and like it's outrageous, but like, and I think the fear in that is that one of their technologies is helping find, and you can see now it's like it helps find people. Well, you know where that's going, right? So, and yes, you can start with finding terrorists, finding, enemies of the state, but it's like, well, what if you turn that around? Be like, I can find anybody, right? So that's the scary part of that. And you're right, Palantir and Drill, but those are the things that are here, and it's not like Terminator style. It's like I don't want to sound like conspiracy, but it's literally your government's having this control. And I don't know if it's all governments, but it's like, yeah, that's kind of what it kind of does. So we're kind of in that kind of sphere, and our lawmakers are ever just way too behind to connect the dots on that, and just
they just see it as a new tank, a new
exactly.
helicopter,
And you're like,
a new
it's
ship.
not really a new tank, man. It's something completely different.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
enemies of the state. That's what I was about to say.
Oh,
Greg.
right.
1,000%.
Yeah. The this really highlights the short-sightedness of humans in general. And I think, and I probably said some form of this in multiple ways in lots of different episodes, but today really highlights these paths that we're starting to theory out of doom or utopia and things like that. Is we kind of have to fix how we approach things to guarantee or help guide to the path that we want. So we have to fix ourselves. We have to fix how we do things. The reasons why all the governments are in this is because they see an example of how it's working right now in Ukraine and Russia, right? The most drones ever used in combat is happening there right now, right? They're seeing these military effects. They're seeing, oh, this is our new gun, this is our new tank, new piece of equipment. But what they're not looking at is, so why are we in this situation? And I know these are very lofty goal kind of sounding concepts, but like you said, Andy, everyone's going to have their own AI that they're developing. And, some may just go, okay, I'm developing this for nefarious purposes and things like that. But that really comes back down to the people part, right? We can't fix other things going on or how things are going to develop unless we concentrate on fixing the root cause, right? If you pull out weeds, they're gonna grow back because you didn't get the root system underneath. I'm right now clearing out a blackberry bush from my backyard, and if you don't know how tough that is and such a pain in the butt to really eradicate that, that's what I'm talking about. You got to get really in there and fix the root of the problem. Otherwise, it's just going to come back over and over and over again. So I understand we're talking about the AI side of things, but the AI is the mirror for humanity. So we kind of have to concentrate on fixing us, and that way we're the right people in the right time in the right place to then develop towards a guide of what we're to guide what we're looking for in the future.
But the fix, like yes, AI is a mirror, and we are potentially looking in the mirror, but what we're seeing in the mirror is both personalized and also based on what we hope to see. I talk about improv a lot because I teach improv. And there, for me, are two ways of engaging in improv. One is to hide yourself, bury yourself, so you're only the character. And the other is to use the character that you're playing as a way of revealing yourself, right? And the difference between the two are how easy it is to play with you. Because if you are engaging in a truth about yourself, and improv is just the screen in which you engage, and you're not saying what's true and what's not, right? Like this isn't like, let me tell you all my trauma. This is not trauma dump as improv. But if you are trying to bury yourself in the character, what you want in this experience is to be convinced that you are totally hidden and no one will ever know your truth. You're really hard to play with because you're trying to capture each thing that you've said and made up in your head. And now you're not paying attention to what's happening. I think that there's a lot of that in the way that people are engaging with AI. Are you helping me bury everything that I don't like about me and appear normal and attractive and all of the things? Or is this an experience where I am understanding myself so that I can engage with my community, my human community, in an authentic way from a place of compassion? And that depends on how you prompt it and what you want out of it. And I'm not sure we've set up scenarios to fix people, right? And also culturally, I am aware that the Canadian among us had this very deep conversation about Palantir, and the three people who are live in the US did not comment on that very much. And I think that also has to do culturally across across nation states, like what is considered normal, what are citizens' responsibilities for each other, and we're not anywhere close to what our responsibilities are for other humans in the world, just because we're all humans together.
There are some small communities and some nations that have cultures that are much more cohesive as a result of being, not a melting pot of different cultures as we are in the United States, but more homogenous and more focused on the collective than our sort of independent-minded ethos in the United States. And I think there's an argument to be made that there's a huge cultural influence over how the humans will behave and how the AI that's supporting those humans in those cultures will behave. And we don't have time to discuss that tangent. I wanted to just focus for a moment before shifting over to the assistive AI scenario, which is the dream, the life dream that we have, that AI is going to be ultimately enabling and empowering humans to live fuller lives. But before I do, I just want to mention that there's also this space of criminal adoption, like not nation states warring using AI, versions of Palantir against each other, but rather criminal humans using AI to automate phishing attacks, to create malware and the ransomware kinds of exploits, using AI that can adapt itself rapidly to evade detection. So there's a constant battle between the white hats and black hats in terms of figuring out how to suppress those exploits. So deepfakes, we've seen how that can be used to impersonate executives, to extort victims, and spread misinformation. All of those things, are happening right now, and we don't talk enough about them, I don't think, or we don't really yet know how effectively AI can be generated that is a countermeasure to those exploits. But remember, just last week, we talked about a new technology that was developed by UC Riverside, I believe, which is 98% effective in detecting a deepfake video, which could be very useful. You can imagine advanced technologies being able to determine in real time and put a warning up on some kind of broadcast that supports it, that says, this is a manipulated image. This is not a live video feed. And have that kind of thing. Or we may be able to buy a utility that we add to our screens that does that in real time. So there are going to be countermeasures.
But I think that's a misunderstanding. I mean, yes, there are going to be countermeasures, but that implying that is a fix or a prophylactic or something misunderstands how our brains work, right? So if I see the video, and like Obama being arrested in the White House, I saw that video. I'm not affected by that for the rest of my life because I have an awareness that isn't true, right? It didn't go into my head as a memory of something that was true. But if I see a video of something that I don't have that kind of understanding, and all I'm seeing is it has been determined that this is a non-factual representation, that those go in our heads in different ways. I still have that. I still have that video depiction, and the memory of watching it on CNN, and just a little thing that says this is a deep fake, right? That misunderstands how humans build world models and collect information. I'm not sure that we are in a position for even the deepfake technology that says that this may be a deepfake to be helpful. I think we should move much more toward like Nordic states that teach critical thinking from like kindergarten up, where like, what is the motivation? You don't know whether this is true or not. Let's just look at it. Who benefits if it's true? Who benefits if it's not? Right? And
I think that kind of
scale
training is
that.
definitely additive, but I want the warning.
Yeah.
I want the
Okay.
warning there so that I can apply critical thinking to it, that I can move swiftly to who's behind this, who's benefiting from putting forward this manipulation of the image. And I think that's a great point, Beth, that, we can't just stop with, okay, now that we have the warning label on the thing, we still need to educate the public that sugar is bad for you, even though, the sugar content at 39 grams for an 8-ounce drink, it's all there. All the warning label is there, but, we still have to teach people to change their behavior. So I wanted to share with you something that comes from the world of music. There's an iconic bass player, Victor Wooten, who wrote this. It's actually a video of him saying this in an interview with another bass player. And what he said, they were talking about AI. And he said this, he said, "I think the tools are wonderful in the same way that cars are wonderful. We used to have horses and buggies. I like my car, but it's how I use it that matters. I can use my car to run over people or to get where I need to go. I can use the tools of AI in music to avoid ever learning how to be musical myself. Or I can be musical and use these tools and make something even better. So if the tools are replacing your musicality, that's not good. But if you're musical anyway, use the tools, absolutely. I love it because a tool is just a tool. It's how it's used that determines whether it's good or bad." And the other interviewer said, "Oh, so you see an optimistic scenario where people might use AI and use it more as an assistant rather than a replacement." And he said, "Bingo, assisted intelligence. That's AI right. Not artificial, make it real." So, okay, if you're a bass player, you appreciate the wisdom coming from another bass player who is, thinking optimistically about AI. All right, we're towards the end of our show. I want to ask my colleagues if you have any final thoughts or wrap up on the question of whether the dream life is ahead of us or whether there's a doom scenario emerging.
So final thoughts, and this will be the last time I hammer this in, right? That quote, Andy, was very revealing, and I agree, because what it does is it puts the authority or the will, the sovereignty, the choice in our own hands, right? And so this technology, this topic is not a topic to be solved by others. This is not a problem to be solved by others. This is something that we have to approach both personally and as a collective and I shouldn't say problem, but the situation is something that we have to address personally and as a collective towards the active direction that we want to move in. And that's going to need people on board with the same vision. So it's not like with these larger concepts. This is a larger concept that's going to affect everyone on the planet. So if you want a certain outcome, you have to actively guide how this AI story develops. Otherwise, others are going to do it for you, and you won't have that agency to end up in the world that you want to.
Very good. Any other final thoughts? Hearing none, I'm going to say, go ahead, Beth.
I think Junmi said it, right? That this is that this is a collective experience and a personal responsibility. And, if you can find your people, then you become a collective within the collective. And the personal responsibility is shared to a certain extent. And then you can start to have influence.
Yeah, very good. All right. Thank you for joining us today. And thanks to all of our listeners who watch our recorded shows on YouTube or listen on Spotify. I want to invite you to go to the dailyaishow.com and sign up there for the newsletter. Once a week on Sunday morning, it comes out, and it's a beautiful digest of things you need to know to stay abreast of the rapidly changing facts and figures in the world of AI. In addition, feel free to join our community. If you go to the Daily AI Show community.com, you can sign up there for our Slack team. Now, Beth, what's tomorrow's show? Oh, you're on mute.
Tomorrow's show is AI tutors. Both Google and OpenAI have come out with their initiatives to help students learn. And Brian is helping us delve deep into that. Wednesday is news. Thursday is a show that Carl suggested about the different ways that Western cultures and Eastern cultures are approaching AI. And Friday, we are doing our deep dive into GPT-5 and use cases. What are people doing that are working? And I'm sure we'll talk about the other pieces as well. But it's designed as a Be About It show. We're gonna talk about what is how we're finding things successfully with GPT.
Excellent. Yeah, I suspect that on Friday we'll also delve into the blowback that OpenAI has received and the decline in their reputation as a result of some of the rough edges of GPT-5 that have emerged just in days. I mean, literally, it's a handful of days since GPT-5 was made available broadly and replacing almost every other model that OpenAI had previously fielded. All right. Thanks again for your attention. We'll see you tomorrow and every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific here on the Daily AI Show. Thanks all.
Aloha.
This is the after show. This is the new after show. I've got to end the stream. That's me.